Hey, Pluto, I was looking at my natal chart and I saw I had a Pluto in Scorpio. What can you tell me about it? Well, I can tell you that you were born sometime between 1983 and 1995. And this generation has a unique set of characteristics, both positive and challenging. Yeah, someone was telling me it was an intense placement. What does that mean? Well, it really is an intense placement to have. Honestly, most Pluto transits take a long time to complete and can even span multiple decades. But my friend, Pluto only transited Scorpio for 12 years, which is really, really short in Pluto transit years. I like to think that the people that incarnated during this time are so powerful that the world only needed 12 years of incarnations in order to change. If it went any longer, our world would be so overwhelmed by the amount of transformation that it wouldn't know what to do. The Pluto in Scorpio generation deals with things like transformation, power dynamics, intensity in relationships, these cycles of death and rebirth, control, manipulation, sex, the occult, death, and the subconscious. And none of these topics are for the faint of heart. These kids were born during so much profound change that was occurring in the world during this time. I mean, just think about it. During this transit of Pluto in Scorpio, the Cold War ended. Now, for those who don't know what the Cold War is, it was a war that was fought between the United States and its allies against the Soviet Union. The United States wanted global capitalism and a free market trade system, and the Soviet Union wanted communism on a global scale. One of the scariest parts of this war was this nuclear arms race between the United States and the Soviet Union. The Cold War came to an end during this period, symbolizing a significant global shift in political power. The fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989 marked this monumental moment leading to the eventual dissolution of the Soviet Union in 1991. The internet began its early development and growth during this period, culminating in the public release of the World Wide Web in the early 1990s. This technological revolution radically transformed communication, information sharing, and global connectivity. The HIV/AIDS epidemic became a major public health crisis in the 1980s and the 1990s, with this widespread fear and stigma surrounding the disease. However, it did lead to significant shifts in healthcare policy, sexual health education, and these social attitudes towards minorities. Pluto's association with death, destruction, and the shadow side of human nature is reflected in the horrific and violent events of the Rwanda genocide, which involved this mass slaughter of an estimated 800,000 people in just around 100 days. And you know, Pluto deals with themes of control, power, and secrecy. And you could see this play out during this time in the Tiananmen Square massacre. And for those who don't know what that was, in June of 1989, there were these pro-democracy protesters in Beijing, China, and they were violently suppressed by the Chinese Communist government. The military used intense force against these unarmed protesters, resulting in who knows how many people dying. There's actually this really iconic image of a protester standing in front of a row of tanks that became a symbol of resistance during this time. I could go on and on and on about all the transformation that occurred in the world during the time that these little babies were being born. There were lots of changes in society, technology, politics, and culture. But do you see the chaos that these children were born into? And a lot of the times, the chaos that manifested globally also manifested in these children's homes. At the time, divorce rates had begun to rise, since the 1960s, but the late 80s and the early 90s, it had grown to almost 50% in America. And that led to a lot of homes being single-parent households, or the increase of these non-traditional families. And when I say that, I mean families that are blended. So you have a stepmom or a stepdad or step siblings, or maybe grandma is the one that's raising the children, things like that. It was also a time where most families were dual income families. So both parents would be absent from the home at times because of work. Also, birth control became this hot topic during this time, leading to fewer births. Gender roles began to also shift during this time as more women entered the workforce. And children born during this time often would find themselves in power struggles with their parents, or unfortunately on the wrong side of abuse, whether this was physically, emotionally, or sexually. These children grew up in some chaos, let me tell you. But there are positive things about being born during the Pluto and Scorpio transit. Pluto and Scorpio individuals are known for their ability to face difficult situations and emerge stronger. They are so resilient. This generation has been through collective experiences that have required this deep emotional healing and transformation. Now, the best part of this generation has to be the uncanny ability to navigate trauma and adversity. And often they can transform their wounds into these sources of strength to help others. They are some incredibly strong individuals. And the natives can also have some profound intuition, psychic abilities, and even psychological insight. Let me tell you, they can be skilled psychologists, counselors, life coaches, or even detectives due to their ability to uncover the truth and see things beneath the surface. There's a reason Scorpios don't trust very many people. Now, another thing that I love about my Pluto and Scorpios is how passionate they can become. They have the ability to pursue their goals with this unwavering determination, especially if they feel that there has been a social injustice. This passion and intensity can be a bit much for some, but what I love is it makes Pluto and Scorpios excellent at achieving what they set their mind to. They are often the ones that are able to break through barriers that others would find impossible. Like, seriously, we really needed Pluto and Scorpios on this planet to go up against the strong and powerful that were already here. And although there are a lot of positive things about Pluto and Scorpio, there's also things that are challenging to deal with. These natives can have some deep trust issues, which, I mean, who could blame them? But also at the same time, they often have this guard up, not trusting anyone until that person has proved themselves trustworthy. Scorpios can be at the receiving end of deception and betrayal. So they definitely have this guard up so they don't get stung. They can do the stinging, but they don't need others stinging for them, okay? Another thing you may find is a Pluto and Scorpio individual repressing their emotions. The emotional intensity of this generation can be overwhelming at times, both for the individual and for others. And if this native doesn't learn how to express and process their emotions in a healthy way, they may bottle things up or express them in extreme ways. Remember, Pluto is the planet that represents extremes. But no matter what, with all the ups and downs a Pluto and Scorpio may face in life, they are always able to transform into a newer, better version of themselves. It reminds me of the phoenix in mythology. So the phoenix was this large, beautiful bird. I mean, it had red and gold feathers that matched the color of the sun. And it lived for a very long time. We're talking somewhere between 500 and 1,000 years. And it experienced a slow passage of time, just like Pluto does when it transits the sun. And when the bird is ready to die, it collects these different pieces of wood to build its nest, and often some spices too, usually frankincense and myrrh. And after the bird builds its nest, it lights it on fire. and then flies directly into the flames, where it is consumed in the fire. But this bird doesn't die in the flames. Oh no, it purifies. And it is symbolic of sacrifice, where the old bird is shed and a new one comes to life. And it represents this death and rebirth experiences that a Pluto in Scorpio deals with. The new phoenix is born from the remains of the old one, symbolizing this resurrection and renewal. The new bird then rises from the ashes pure and even stronger than before. Now, how many people do you know that can survive a fire like that and come out better than ever? So, if you have a Pluto in Scorpio or you know someone that does, how has this placement played out? Let me know in the comments below. I would absolutely love to hear from you. And if you do have this placement and you are working on yourself, then I got you, boo. I got a completely free meditation that you can use that can help you on your healing journey with Pluto and Scorpio. I'll be sure to leave a link in the description if you want to check it out. And if you're someone who would like to watch some more captivating astrology videos, then I invite you to check out my Patreon, where we go over some hot topics in astrology. And if there's ever a placement or an aspect that you would like me to cover, you can vote or share what you would like to see. There are also some powerful meditations and affirmations that help you work through the shadow work on this spiritual journey. It's a great place to go and invest in yourself this lifetime if you're a little soul that wants to do that. So if you're interested, I invite you to go check it out. I'll also leave a link for that in my description. Mwah!